I had a professor once when I was in university who I got into a conversation with him about people in power and about how to get people in power who actually will bring positive change. And I remember making an argument at the time when I was younger by saying that, well, I used kind of that old expression of power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And so I was kind of making an argument that no matter who comes into power, there's going to be problems and there's going to be corruption. And he responded to me by saying, well, no, all you have to do is get the people into power who won't be corrupted. And I still disagreed with him because my reaction to that is, well, if you get these noble people into power, the people who are not noble are going to do everything in their power to destroy the person who is doing the noble thing. So you're always going to have this tension. And are you ever going to, for that reason, like even in the U.S., you have corruption. I mean, maybe we can talk about how, okay, we're not seeing like civil war and all those kind of things that are happening in other countries. You're not seeing that level of instability, but you still see, you still see corruption at very high levels, and you still see people who are targeted for political reasons, maybe at lower levels. You still see that in the United States. You see that in any government. So how possible is it to create this perfect ideal government? Is it possible with human nature to actually create an ideal government?
I don't know. I don't think it's possible. I was having a discussion with someone recently about a similar topic, and I was like, the idea is that before we were colonized, I think even America was colonized, but
yes,
before Uganda was.
But there was the Native Americans, I think, who were the victims of that, of the colonization of America.
Yeah, so before we were colonized, we had our own systems of government, and people were more grouped in a homogeneous level, race of ancestry, so that people were more united and they were having similar goals and running towards the same direction. And they had kings and chiefs and things were kind of working. And no one was complaining to be the next king, because the next king, we knew the next king, So people would fight for other smaller positions. Let's say I want to work with the chief. Because the chiefs were hereditary. So people had to just impress the king, so they would get some sort of appointment. And I think it was fine. But then there came democracy. So let's get a king who is a rival with another king. So get like 5 kingdoms which are enemies, which have been able to thrive on their own. Let's put them under one government. So that's already from the start, the game was rigged. They created absolute chaos intentionally. Let's put these people in one place and make sure they have to select one person to lead them.
Yeah.
Even when they have different goals or different ideologies. So from the beginning, they brewed chaos, and we are reaping the rewards. Point in case is that now neighboring Democratic Republic of Congo, I think we talked about it some time back as well, where they split an ethnicity of Rwandans in half, and one stayed in Rwanda, the country, another one went over to Congo. And because these people, they are one, but then they split them in 2 different sides of the border, that's already brought conflict in DRC. And that's why we are seeing some of them just want to be, to secede and walk away from DRC and maybe join Rwanda or be their own nation. So I don't think it was by accident. I think it was intentional. Let's make sure that we keep people who don't have the same idea, so who are maybe traditionally not good friends. Let's keep them together in one nation so that they keep fighting each other. And then we shall sell to them the idea of democracy. And as they fight for democracy, they kill each other and they are never stable. Whereas if they had not done it, and it's the same thing with Russia and Ukraine anyway. So you find that there are people who are, native Russians, but then they are in Ukraine.
Ukrainian, yeah.
So you find that now there's discontent among them when someone rises to power in Ukraine and is not of their origin. So they start fighting as well, and then next thing you know, we have an international catastrophe. So
Yes.
I think partly this is where democracy has led us. And the people who partitioned Africa per se, or who made these international borders, I think they were very intentional to make sure that they pit people against each other.
Well, yeah, if you have people fighting each other, then the people in power, that actually creates stability for those who are actually running things. They need some problem to solve. The people in power need some problem. So if they create the problem, and then they come in with a solution to the problem, which isn't actually a solution, what they offer just keeps the problem going, because they can continue to be the saviors with the solution.
And yeah, would that take us back to another form of government, which is the oligarchy?
Yes, which is what I think the U.S. probably really is.
Because I'm looking at it beyond the U.S., I'm thinking, I mean, it may be an audacious thought, but I'm thinking the whole world is an oligarchy. Where we have
definitely.
So we have like 5 countries which are, or they call themselves the G7, which are the top, and those countries are the rich people. The 7 rich people, and they're taking everyone else under their armpits. They're telling them what, do this, do this, do this. And even those countries themselves have people who are at the top of those countries, the rich people, who are steering their own agendas. They own the pharmaceutical companies, they own the military companies. And so when they say, Uganda is misbehaving, let's fund Mr. Paul Nkata, let's give him $500 million and give him arms and let him fight Museveni.
Uh-huh.
And it causes the stability, and then next thing you know, they're here. They need to get back the money they've invested, so they come into our resources. Etc. What's happening in Ukraine exactly? Because I was listening to JD Vance talking about the fact that they put in so much money in Ukraine, and Ukraine has to, in a way, pay back, something like that. So there's an oligarchy in a sense that there are rich people leading these top countries, but these top countries are leading all the other countries astray, and they're determining what policy works where. In a sense that we are in an oligarchy across the globe.
I mean, we have all these different forms, but really, when you get right down to it, there's a ruling class of very rich people who are governing what's happening in our world. People with too much money that have too much power. So it's kind of a scary thought.
And they're ruling the whole world. They're not just ruling us. They're ruling everyone.
Yes.
They're ruling everyone. So,
well, isn't that the real reason for most of America's wars? It isn't about making the world safer for democracy. It's to put money in the pockets of the rich. That's really the real motivation behind most of America's wars.
And in the way that these countries are able to still manipulate the smaller countries for resources, for raw materials.
Control the resources. To control the resources so they can benefit financially from those resources. They don't want you to benefit from those resources, or maybe to some extent, to the extent that somebody has to work and produce those resources. But ultimately, they want to control the resources so they can financially benefit and steal your wealth.
Yeah, so there we go. I'm thinking, sometimes I think usually government benefits a few people, and others just more like slaves to it.
Yeah.
Because they claim that they were coming here, they were saving us from the kings who are very ruthless, and they're doing exactly what the monarchies used to do. No difference.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Please give your comments as usual. And let us know what you think about the things that we've had to say. And also, as usual, please suggest any comments that you might have. But yeah, so thanks again for another interesting conversation, Paul. And we'll be back again in another 7 days for more. So
yeah, thank you.
All right.